Hi, welcome to Drawing Wild Washington. I'm your host, Jed Dunkerley, Associate Artist with the Burke Museum at the University of Washington in Seattle. In this episode, we are going to be drawing life from the coastal marine ecology. We have an invertebrate, we have the Giant Pacific Octopus, there's a plant, we're doing the bull kelp, and we're doing a fish, the Pacific Halibut. And these all live in salt water in the Puget Sound or in the coast of the Olympic Peninsula. So I'm going to start with the Giant Pacific Octopus. We're going to start with our light colored pencils and we're going to do some shape drawing, okay, underlying geometry, if you will. The Latin Interoctopus dofleini, just so you know. This is the largest octopus species in the world, so give yourself plenty of room on your paper. And we're going to start with its body. And while the body of the octopus can assume many different shapes, the most common one is the oval. So we'll start by drawing a fairly large oval in the middle of our page. Then from there we get to the head, so to speak. And the head is just going to be kind of a triangle that's maybe, I don't know, a third the size of that oval. And you just kind of stick it onto the top of the oval. Then we're going to draw what's called the mantle. So imagine taking that triangle, turning it upside down, and then doing 3 more, so it almost looks like a stack of triangles underneath it. And that's going to create the mantle. All right? Next, we're going to draw the tentacles. And as you probably know, the octopus has 8 arms, and each one of them has 2 rows of suckers on it. The average tentacle from side to side, the span of tentacles is about 10 feet, with a world record of 30 feet. And when you're drawing the tentacles, there's a tendency to want to cram them all in there, but honestly, some of them will be in the back and you won't see them. So I'm going to draw about 5 or 6. And what I'm going to do is just come off this mantle, the triangles that you did, and draw kind of like just a curvy shape, curvy line right there. And the key with drawing tentacles is that whatever your first line did, your second line will do. So when you draw your second line, just kind of follow the curve, do it just the way the other one is, and get it a little bit smaller as you come down to the end. And then sometimes I curl them up like that. And then just draw, you can draw one that kind of curls at you, goes up and down, and you can get creative with this because the octopus can stick its tentacles in any direction and curl them around. If you've seen them at the aquarium, you've seen them do this. So I'm just going to draw a bunch of tentacles, kind of stick them around in all directions, curve them around at the end, and then maybe I'll stick a couple back in the back. This is called overlap. It's going to go disappear behind that one and then come back around there. Maybe here's another one right here. And if you don't draw all 8, that's fine, because you can just say, oh, that one's back behind the body. Okay, so if you've got all your pairs of curvy lines, then you can start drawing in the details. Now, one of the things you're not going to see is in here is its mouth, and it's a beak. It's the only hard part in the entire octopus. And the octopus can smush its body down so that it can fit through holes and cracks and rocks as long as it's the same size as the beak. Okay? So other parts you might need to know about is there's like an inlet right here where it sucks in water. And then down underneath here, just draw like a little oval and then 2 straight lines. That is going to be the siphon, and that's where it shoots the water out. Up here at the top of the triangle, it's going to be, I'm just going to draw one eye and then draw like a ridge, like I'm going to see the other eye over there. And the eyes have these weird horizontal lines in them. Okay. Now, as I go in and draw some of the details, like I'm going to draw some suckers in on this arm because I can see the back of it. This one, I would only see the side of the suckers like that. So I'm just going to draw kind of like a bumpy line. And generally speaking, I'll either draw the bumpy line, like this one I'll draw a bumpy line on the side because I'm seeing the side of the suckers. And then some of those arms in the back, they're facing me, so I'll actually draw in the rows of suckers. So 2 lines of suckers all the way, and they get smaller and smaller all the way to the end. Okay, and you can draw these in with your light colored pencil, or if you're feeling confident, you can go ahead and draw them in with the regular pencil. One of the cool things about the octopus is it can change its color and it can change its body shape to fit in. So I'm actually going to start darkening in my lines, and as I do, I'm going to give it a little bit of a wiggle because the octopus can actually change the shape of its skin to camouflage itself against rocks and coral and other things like that. Okay, so again, I am just going to trace over the most important lines. And I'm going to leave lines like this alone because I was just using them to help me set up. And that's an important part of this drawing technique. So I'm going to trace over the lines like this. And I'll tell you a little bit more about octopi. Octopi is the plural. Number one, I think I told you they can change their body color to fit into the natural environment. Another thing about color is the octopus actually has blue blood. That's right. It's made out of copper, and copper is blue. Our blood's made out of iron. Iron's red. So that's kind of an interesting fact. And see this thing right here, the siphon? That, you might know this already, but that is how it gets around, is it sucks water in through this slit and then it shoots it back out through that siphon. And it's a form of jet propulsion, just like an airplane. All right, so I'm going to just trace in all my suckers and finish up the arms here. You can go into a lot more detail if you want. I'm going to cut a little space off there. And draw the eyes up here. And then you can go in and put textures and make it look bumpy or spotted or something like that. Give it some shading under here. And there you have the world's largest octopus, the Giant Pacific Octopus. All right, next up. Now, we spend a lot of time drawing animals in this show, but it's also worth noting that there are some cool plants. And when you're drawing ocean scenes and ocean environments, it's always great to put in some plants in the background. So I'm going to show you how to draw bull kelp. Bull kelp's actually a brown algae. Its Latin is Nereocystis lutekiana. And it's pretty simple to draw, so I'll just do it quickly here, and then you can draw a bunch of them. It starts at the bottom just like a regular plant with roots. So I'm going to draw some rooty looking kind of curvy angular lines like that down at the bottom. And this is called the hold fast. And I'm actually going to draw what it's holding fast to, like a rock. Okay, so there's some rocky texture down there. So you got the roots way down on the bottom, and then it's got this long stem. And the key is that you do a curve, and then much like the octopus arms, you do another curve right next to it. So if it goes this way, the other line has to go that way, and you follow it along. Okay, these are called opposing curves. And then at the top, you draw a circle, and this is actually filled with air. It's its float, and it's what keeps it upright in the ocean. Now you can draw a bunch of these in the background if you want, because like plants, they a lot of times grow together and create these forests in the water. Okay, so I'm going to draw a bunch of these long stems, and then each one of them ends with a float like that. Okay, and you can draw more if you want to. And then whereas plants have leaves, these have things called blades. And so I'm going to draw off the float, I'm going to draw some curved lines like this. I'll just draw a couple for each one. They kind of flow away like hair, I always think about. And then for every line, I'm going to do a skinny little neck, and then I'm going to draw a curvy kind of textured line like that on either side of the blade. It goes up and down and around. And each one of these is going to have that. And it gives it some texture. And these curves make it look like it's kind of swaying in the current. So I'll follow these up here. Okay, and that's basically it. Okay, it's not too complicated, but it's always good to throw some, some bull kelp in the back for some scenery. Now, as I go and color these in, and you can kind of see the basic shapes, I will tell you that bull kelp provides some vital roles in the ocean. It gives good habitat for lots of sea creatures that can sort of hide in them. Just like on land, things will hide in the trees and the bushes. They're actually edible, and when dried, are a delicious salty snack. One of the most flavorful of all kelps. And they're actually high in calcium, used for medicinal purposes by Native Americans for years. So if you're ever at the ocean and you see yourself some bull kelp, think that might be a good snack. Okay, what else? They can grow up to 30 meters in length. That's almost 120 feet. And they have the fastest growth rate of all organisms. They can grow about 5 inches a day. So you could probably just camp out and sit and watch them grow if you wanted to. And they do photosynthesize, which is why they have these long blades that act like leaves. So there's your bull kelp. And again, oftentimes you'll just draw this in the background, but it makes for a good setting for an ocean scene, especially around the Pacific Northwest. All right, and we're going to finish up with the Pacific halibut. Okay, and the Pacific halibut is a flatfish. It's a type of flounder. Okay, and it's interesting because both of its eyes are on the same side. They start out in life, both the eyes are on opposite sides, and then the left eye moves over to the right side of the fish. So it's a big, wide fish. So I'm going to start with a big oval. And this oval, if I put circles inside of it, I could put about 3 circles about the same size. Okay, so it's about 3 times as long as it is tall. And then another circle length again over here. So 4 circles long, because now I'm going to put in the tail. And the tail is just a little square, and then we're going to go into a triangle that's about the same height as the body. And then we're just going to curve in a little bit at the base of the triangle like that. So that's the tail of the halibut. These things can be up to 8 feet long, which is pretty remarkable. Now I'm going to draw in the fins, but in order to do that, I'm actually going to measure my fish. And I've made him or her or they about 15 centimeters long. So half of that's about 7.5, which is going to be about right there. And sometimes it's good to measure halfway points because it gives you a frame of reference. For instance, this, which is the dorsal fin of the fish, is like a big long triangle that goes almost to the front of the fish and goes almost to the back of the fish and is at its widest part at about the halfway point. Now the next biggest fin is called the anal fin, and it's back here behind the halfway line, and it sticks out about the same, and it's about the same shape. It's like a big long triangle, but it comes and ends a little bit earlier, right here at about the 1/4 mark right here. Okay, and then you've got some of the other fins. The gill is the next big thing, and that's going to be at about the 1/4 mark, again, right here. That's about halfway between this and the end. So if you mark off 1/4, that is roughly where the gill is going to be. And it curves from the bottom and it goes almost to the other side. So you can just do an arch right there. Next fin is the pectoral fin, which is kind of like its arm. And it's going to be a little triangle right here, right behind the gill. And then there's another little fin down here called the pelvic fin, which is a little rectangle just kind of right underneath the gill. Now there's one other cool thing about the Pacific halibut. Well, there's more than one, but all fish have a thing called a lateral line, which goes down the side like this, and it's actually a bunch of sense organs. The halibut's lateral line, instead of just going straight, it actually curves way up and arcs down towards the gill like that, right around where the fin is. And I actually don't know why that happens. I just know that it's weird and it's noteworthy on the Pacific halibut. So when you're drawing the Pacific halibut, draw a lateral line and then have it kind of jump up over the fin there. Now all we got left to do is put in the face and do some details. As we know, the eyes are right here on the tip of the head. And I'm going to put one up here and then one right about on the halfway line there. And then the mouth kind of curves down like that. And the halibut's got some pretty big lips on it. So draw a couple lines here to show the lips. And then this eye kind of points that way, and then this eye kind of points that way. And there's your halibut. Now another cool thing about halibut, as I draw some details on here, is halibut are white on the bottom, and then they kind of match whatever color the seafloor that they live on. So if it's dark brown, they're dark brown. If it's lighter brown, they're lighter brown. And they usually have kind of a texture on them, like spots or things like that. So you can draw some spots and some smudges and some blotches if you want on your halibut. And these fins are made of cartilage, and they have rays on them. So every time you draw a fin, you want to draw a pattern kind of like this. You probably know that. But this is a good texture. It makes the drawing a little more interesting, and also shows the actual structure of the fins. So every time I draw a fin, I'm going to draw this little ray structure. It's just a bunch of little straight lines that kind of follow the direction of the fin. Even this one too. Except this one goes from front to back. So you go out like that, you come down here, and then here's its face. I'm going to outline those lips, draw the eyes, and here's the gill, and then that lateral line. Again, the lateral line detects things like motion and pressure changes and stuff like that in the water. It's really cool. All right, they're very strong swimmers. They can swim long distances, and they eat other fish, sometimes even eat octopus, and they've even pulled seal parts out of the guts of one. Again, these things get to be over 8 feet long and up to 400 pounds. So these are long, giant fish, and they have big teeth up here. So that's the Pacific halibut. That's it for now. Thanks for watching the Burks Drawing Wild Washington. Don't forget, drawing starts with seeing and thinking. So practice when you look at a photo or look at anything, practice seeing the shapes inside the shapes, thinking about how they all go together, and then there's nothing you can't draw. So have fun, and until next time, see you later. What's that? You want more? Well, why didn't you say so? We've got coloring book pages available for each one of the ecosystems we've done a program on, and we've got the entire mural available as a silkscreen poster for purchase on the website. So check out the links and get yourself some more ecosystem art. Bye!